Kaya. Her groans are still echoing in my mind. Even though it has been a month, the day he shouted those awful things to my face feels like it was only a few hours ago. The cut was still open, oozing blood and clogging everything up. The betrayal stung in my eyes. That heartbreaking sight is something I find myself returning to again and again. On the couch, my sister and my boyfriend, well, ex-boyfriend, were having sex. Serena's moan rang in my ears as Jackson pressed her down against him, grasping her waist and pushing her closer to his groin. Her button-up shirt was hanging open, practically falling off her shoulders, and her huge breasts poked out through her bra, pushing against his bare chest. He put his lips to her neck and ran a hand through her hair, pushing it back and pinning her to him as they continued to rock their hips in mindless passion. His free hand grabbed her ass through her jeans, she let out another gasp and their lips met once more. 5 years with him had disappeared without a trace. I think my love for him wasn't enough for the two of us because it had truly felt like he was the one. He understood me, listened to me, saw me. And like everything else, she had to take that too. I would have likely forgotten that today was my birthday if it weren't for my calendar. Not even my own father recalled, not that it surprised me. I could fall dead and neither of them will notice. I was relieved that they didn't for some reason, since that would only give Serena more chances to say or do anything that would further incite me to despise myself and her. For example, even though she didn't drink coffee, she requested me to bring 2 cups to the living room so I could witness her making out with Jackson. She was a witch, an evil witch. My gaze settled on Jackson's wrist, where the bracelet I had crafted for him on our 3rd anniversary remained attached to his hand around her waist. I felt like charging over there, snatching it off his wrist, and jamming it into their throats. He opened his eyes and met mine as I scoffed. I wanted to detest him for what he had done, but I refrained from doing so and instead, made the smart choice to move aside and look away. His eyes were trying to communicate with me despite our distance and tension. They were filled with agony and helplessness that he was keeping inside of him, and they stretched out to me as though they were pleading for assistance. "Happy birthday," he whispered, enunciating the words without really speaking them. With a subliminal sigh, I caused the mugs on the tray to rattle slightly, just enough for Serena to notice her presence and remove her blood-sucking lips from Jackson's neck. You would think she was sucking poison or something. A wicked smirk decorated her lips, making sure to show her off her canines, since she knew I didn't have a wolf. It was her easy go when she wanted to mock me, she added by pushing her chest further into his face. Pretending she didn't see me, or just not caring. The latter, probably. I ignored her and approached the coffee table, dropping the tray on it gently, even though I wanted to throw it on them. "Ah. You can take the tray with you. We don't need it," Serena said in a sickly sweet voice. Oh, how good it will feel to punch her in the face. I quietly walked back to the table and began removing the mugs quietly from the tray, careful so it won't spill. I'd rather die than come back here to clean it up. Pain seared on my fingers and I pulled back sharply. Ah! I gripped my hand in pain as the burning sensation slowly faded. Oops, my leg slipped. She had purposely used her leg to kick the cup so it would pour on my hand as she removed herself from Jackson's laps. I looked down at the now empty cup, lying on the floor. Quietly telling myself to just clean it up and get it over with, I bent down to pick up the broken ceramics scattered on the floor and Serena's hand grabbed mine and squeezed it tightly, knowing full well that I was holding a sharp object. The fact that her special power was her strength wasn't helping matters. I felt it when the glass pierced my skin and my blood dripped on the floor. Gosh, I hate you so much. We don't need any wolfless bastard loving around here. She growled in my ear. She wanted me to say something offensive or not, so she would report me to my father and I'd be locked in the dungeon for a week again, so I bit my tongue and tried to free my now injured hand from her grip. Also, didn't I tell you that there was going to be a meeting soon, so cups of coffee were going to be needed at the Alpha's office? She scoffed. Are you deaf or just plain stupid? Why did you bring just 2 cups to the living room when I specifically told you to take it to the Alpha's office? She shook her head with a sneer, like looking at me was pissing her off. It is my fault for forgetting you're too dense and stupid to understand simple instructions. My heart was beating so quickly. I wasn't scared of her. I just hated being shouted at, so it was getting very hard for me to contain the things that wanted to come out of my mouth for fear of being locked up again. I'll make another. Shut up, bitch. She slapped me hard across the face that it took me a few seconds to realize what had just happened. What? Do you have something to say to me? Who are you glaring at with those gutter-colored eyes? My eyes were green and she had always hated it. She had always complained to our mum back then that she didn't like her brown eyes because they were normal. When my mum was still alive, she complained at every chance she got that she wanted what I had, but at least, she had known how to curb her excesses. As soon as she died, everything changed and my sister turned into the devil. It was like the anger she had been keeping inside her had become too strong for her to hold back and she poured everything onto me. My father didn't help me, he acted like I was invisible and he only seemed to pay attention when Serena opened her mouth to complain about me. I'd gone through several moments of pain alone and that was why I thought Jackson was my escape from this terrible life, but boy, how wrong had I been. Tears gathered in my eyes as she finally let go of my hand and the broken glass fell out of it, giving way for more blood to spill and decorate the white tiles. Serena, she's bleeding. Why did you? Oh, shut up, Jackson. What, you want to stand up for her now? I looked up at him. For some reason, I hoped that he would say something to side with me, but it seemed like I had not realized that I was alone. No, I'm not saying anything. Stupid coward. I picked up the glass, pushing back my tears as they clouded my vision, and mindlessly made my way back into the kitchen to turn on the tap in my burnt and injured hand. As I stared out the window, tears began falling down my face again. My free hand grabbed the necklace around my neck, the only reminder I had of my mother since my father had burnt everything she had as soon as she died. I wish you were here, Mum, I wouldn't be treated like this. I hate being alone. I let the tears freely fall, not being able to hold them in anymore. You're not alone. I turned around to look at who was behind me, but I was alone. Quickly cleaning my face, I grabbed another cup and began preparing another cup of coffee. My name is Leah. I paused and turned around again. Who are you? I finally asked. I'm your wolf. I sighed. How stupid did Serena think I was to pull this prank? Serena isn't smart enough to pull this off. I'm really your wolf. Oh yeah, prove it. Look at your hand. My mouth dropped. My hand had healed and it was like nothing had even happened to it. How did you do that? She giggled. I'm kinda special. Listen, I don't have a lot of time to talk, but I need to tell you this. You can't tell any more about me. I frowned. What? What are you saying? Her absence was the main reason my life was a living hell, because they knew I couldn't defend myself. I'm saying you have to keep this to yourself. Just follow your heart and I'll explain everything later. What? No, explain it now. Hello? Silence. Hello? A guard walked past and I suddenly remembered why I was here in the first place. I quickly placed the coffee cups on the tray and practically ran to the office. I stood outside the door, readying myself to enter, wondering how I was going to hide Leah without my father sensing her. He was the alpha, he knew everything. But he's the Lycan King. I heard my dad sharply remark. I raised my hand to knock but hesitated for some reason. All the more reason why we should offer Kaya to him, Serena said after. Kaya. That is me. Kaya. I stood there, listening keenly to them as they decided my future like it was up to them. I gripped the tray nervously, making sure that I didn't make a sound so they wouldn't know of my presence. But Serena, I don't think that's a good deal, Jackson stammered. He always acted like a fumbling fool when he was needed to step up and do anything. Like now, he knows she is wrong and what she is suggesting is nothing but evil. But as always, he couldn't be a man and say it as it is. What do you mean? I could imagine that ugly frown on her face right now. I mean, I've heard rumors. The Lycan King is a 50-year-old man and he already has a kid older than you and I. That's not fair. I momentarily removed my ear that was pressed up against the door and looked around to see if the guards were coming. That's nonsense. All those rumors are lies. I didn't even know who to believe. Nobody had ever been to the Lycans' lands because it was forbidden. Wolves and Lycans shared nothing in common except a border. I got this from a very reliable source. I even heard that one time, he cut off a guard's arm because he distracted him from work. Jackson's brother was a border guard, so that was probably his reliable source. So this was the meeting Serena wanted to have. They were planning on selling me off to the Lycan King. Making my life hell wasn't enough, they wanted me gone for good. I knew Serena hated me and she would do anything to see that I suffered. I wasn't putting much hope on Jackson either because he was a coward and he was afraid of Serena. The only person I could hope on now was my father. Although he cast me aside as soon as my mother died, I was still his daughter and I hoped that that fact alone would save me from Serena's evil plan. There was silence in the room and I bit my lip, waiting for someone to say something. But who cares how old he is? She's the one marrying him, so that's her problem. Dad, all that matters to us is that we get to have a relationship with them. Wouldn't that be good for us? The man I call father sighed. Yes, it will, but I think there are other ways to make peace with them. Serena slammed the table. No. There is no other way. This is the best way, is to make sure she marries him. That way, he would think you gave your most prized possession to him. You really need him to sign the treaty. Else, there would never be peace. So she wanted me to be the sacrificial lamb and be shipped off to a foreign land to marry a man who was old enough to be my dad? No way. There was no way my dad would agree to this. I heard another sigh and my heart dropped. Fine. But you get to break the news to her. The tray almost slipped out of my hand. I stood there, in utter shock, recounting those words over and over again. He had just agreed to it. Tears gathered in my eyes as though called on, and I felt the dull ache in my heart at the betrayal. The people I had thought would be there were the ones plotting my downfall. I dropped the tray back in the kitchen and ran into my room. As soon as I closed the door, I let out the tears I had been holding back, collapsing to the floor in defeat. Leah! Leah! I called for her, but there was no response. I would take any comfort I could receive right now, but there was none. The pain was too much to bear. The people I had thought would be by my side were happily planning against me behind my back. Serena, my own sister. She may have never acted like it, but she was still my sister. My dad. My own father. Jackson, my boyfriend. I had trusted him more than anyone. And now, Leah. Had I really thought someone I had met just today would be faithful to me when the people I'd known all my life hated me? They'd all left me, to deal with life myself. The only person who could have helped me was long gone. My mind flashed back to the last time I'd spoken to Mum, just moments before she passed. Always be yourself, Kaya. Never shed tears for unworthy people. Your heart would tell you where to go, it would lead you to the right place. Sometimes, I wonder if my mum knew how much I was going to suffer and cry, but her words were enough to get me on my feet. If they could plan, so could I. I have had enough of Serena and her evil doings. This was the last straw. I stood up from the floor, brushing the dust off, and looked at myself in the mirror. Serena and the rest weren't worthy of my tears, so I should be thinking of a way to get out of this situation instead of crying over it. I reached under my bed and pulled out my small bag of money. I'd been hiding it for a long time, hoping for the day I'd be in an emergency and get to use it. Today was that day. Quickly stuffing the few things I had into a bag, I put together essentials that would help me on my mission. I was finally going to take the bold step and run away. I won't let Serena's bitterness ruin my life as she saw fit. In the meantime, I mapped out my escape route, taking into account every factor that may try to ruin the plan. Then when it was time, I made my move. It was evening and I knew that at this time, the back door to the house would be left open because this was when the guards changed shifts. The first thing was to pass through the living room without anyone seeing me. With that successfully done, I looked behind me one last time before stepping into the cold evening breeze. This was it, I was finally doing it, but I couldn't fully celebrate because the major obstacle was getting over the border. I began running as soon as I gained some distance from the house. Despite being out of breath and carrying a heavy bag, I didn't stop. It won't take long for someone to notice I was gone because Serena was always calling for me to do one thing or the other. And as soon as she realized I was gone, she would send out every guard to look for me. I had to get away, and fast. My breath comes in ragged gasps as my feet pound against the earth, pushing me forward through the dense forest, leaves rustling with each hurried step. My heart races in my chest. Not just from exertion but from the thrill, or perhaps fear, that drives me to keep moving. I can hear the wind whistling in my ears, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine. My muscles burn, but I ignore the pain, focusing instead on the rhythm of my stride, the thud of my heartbeat, and the sound of my breath as it blends with the rustling leaves and distant bird calls. I feel the roughness of the ground beneath my shoes, every root and stone a challenge to overcome, but I'm driven by a force I can't quite name, something that urges me to push harder, run faster, and leave everything behind. Night had fallen and the moon was nowhere to be found, so I was basically walking in the darkness. I couldn't see the ground before me, but even if I could, I wouldn't have been able to see the well-hidden net trap before me. As soon as I stepped on it, it dragged me into the net and dangled me from a tree like some prey. Damned hunters and their traps. I should have brought a knife. As I looked for ways to get out of this stupid trap, I heard footsteps behind me. 5 figures approached me, and as they got closer, my heart sank. From their appearance, I could see that they were rogues. Oh no, I had heard rumors of rogues capturing girls and selling them as sex slaves. One of them stepped forward. I couldn't see his face because he was wearing a mask. It seemed like he was the leader. Except, as they got closer, I realized it wasn't a he, but a she, and... Hello, sister. That voice. Serena. Adrian. I dropped his toy train and walked over to meet Stephen, the pack doctor, who was now gathering up his equipment. Stephen, I turned around to look at Milo, to make sure he couldn't hear me. What do you think? When do you think he would be able to talk? From his expression alone, I already knew what he wanted to say, and it wasn't good news. He simply shook his head, not wanting to add salt to the injury. Disappointment washed through me as I walked him out. Every time he paid a visit, I had always hoped that he would give me good news, that he would talk real soon. Ever since Asher, my former beta, and his father passed on, he had been like this. Milo was his father's son and the only thing Asher held dearest to his heart. Their bond was so strong that when Milo realized that his father wasn't coming back from the war like other men, he fell ill. To make matters worse, Haley, his mother, left him because she wasn't able to cope with his illness. Milo had no one to care for him, so I took him in as my son. Not just because he was alone, but because Asher was my best friend and confidant. This was the least I could do for him so he could rest in peace. By the time I got back to the room, Milo was already in bed, so I crawled in with him and patted him to sleep. That was all he ever did. He played with his toys a bit, but most times, he just slept. It bothered me because I didn't want him to grow up alone. I may not be there all the time, and I wanted him to have people around him to be there for him. The door opened and Nora stood in the doorway with her hand over her mouth. She signaled for me to come outside and I shooed her away. Slowly crawling out of Milo's bed, I made sure he was asleep before shutting the door behind me. What is it? I met up with her in the drawing room upstairs. She crossed her hands against her chest and pushed herself off the wall. She gave me a once-over and I already knew there was something in her mind. I just couldn't guess what. You haven't given me an answer to my question. I racked my brain but couldn't seem to even remember what the question was. Nora wasn't my beta officially, but she does everything a beta would. And she did it good. You said you were going to think about what I said. She sounded exasperated. It still didn't ring a bell. You. Getting married. Again. I rolled my eyes and held the door handle. I was never married before. Now if you'll excuse me, I'll be doing something important. Okay, wait. She grabbed my hand. This time around, it's not just for me. Listen, things aren't looking good with the wolves from the Red Moon Pack. If we want them to actually sign the treaty, then we need a Luna. Red Moon doesn't have a Luna. I wanted to roll my eyes. But at least, the Alpha has been married. Listen, just think about it, and this time, try to do something about it. Deep down, she knew that I wasn't going to do anything about it. Not now, not ever. Adrian, you. I'll think about it, on one condition. Her smile fell. How about you find your mate first? She burst out laughing. I'm not like you, Adrian. We're not in the same situation. Besides, men are trouble. I'm fine the way I am. We both laughed, and as she walked away, I actually put some thought into what she said. Maybe Milo needs a motherly figure to finally talk. Finally, you're speaking a language I can relate to. Of course, it would take a topic like this that would get Alistair to finally show his ugly face. He is family, and like every family, he is the most annoying of all. He had been one of the supporters of Nora's campaign to get me another mate, but no matter what they did or planned to do, their plans won't work. Forget it, it's not going to happen. Right now, my primary and only focus was Milo. The only thing that would make me so happy was to see him talking, nothing else. But just think about it. If you find a new mate, you'll be happier. Milo would have a motherly figure which every child needs, and you'll be able to sign the treaty with Red Moon. I ignored him because it was the only thing to do. The moment he started his rant, he would never shut up. I had never met a wolf that talked so much. Adrian, just forget it, Alistair. Just drop it. How many times do I have to tell you that I'm not interested in being with someone else? Have you forgotten so quickly what Emily did, or have you forgotten what Haley did to Milo? The way she abandoned Milo just like that? You can't possibly expect me to forget all that and move on. The memories were still very fresh in my head. The pain, the way I felt when Emily left me, the countless days that I tried begging her to come back. The horrible days after she left, how hard it had been for me to pull myself from that darkness. No, I couldn't possibly move on. Just the mention of her name made me feel a pang in my chest, but I quickly shoved it away. I was over this, over her. I had promised myself after everything that I wouldn't waste my time with women ever again. I would never marry, or claim a mate. And this little plan they have to push me to do it isn't going to make me change my mind. Adrian, I didn't mean Alistair started, but I cut him off sharply. Forget it. My tone was final. He got the message that I wasn't in the mood. They both didn't try to speak again. I still wasn't back to normal, after the unnecessary reminder of Emily and what happened with her. I couldn't concentrate, so I walked out of his room and went back to mine before changing my course and heading towards the door. A run in the woods was the perfect thing to take my mind off all this talk that was annoying me. Quickly changing out of my formal wear, I put on normal clothes and slipped into the dark woods. Kaya. I was sure it was Serena's voice I had heard coming from behind the mask. She was my sister, I couldn't possibly mistake her voice, but somehow, I had still wished that it wasn't her. I hoped that it wouldn't be her. That she wasn't as bad as she portrayed herself, and that my sister was in there somewhere. The person took off the mask slowly, and the scar was the first thing I noticed. And all my hopes shattered. Serena. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing? Let me out of here. I fought against the thigh ropes and she laughed. The sound was like a dagger to my chest. No, seeing her was the dagger to my chest. That just turned it more, causing more pain and making me bleed even more. After all the things she has done, I've never felt as betrayed as I do right now. I regretted giving her a chance all these years, for believing there was some good left in her. That my sister was in there somewhere. She isn't. She never has. Let her down, boys. One of the men stepped forward and cut the rope holding me, causing me to land on my butt and my ankle at a very odd angle. Despite the pain that ripped through my leg, my eyes were focused on Serena, who was standing above me. She walked forward and crouched to my position, wielding a sharp dagger in her hands. I wonder what would happen if I hurt Mommy's precious little lamb. She placed it on my cheek, the cold metal pressing against it and digging into it. What do you think you're doing, Serena? Oh sister, you don't know how long I've been waiting for this. How long I've been wanting you to be at my mercy. I could see her face now and I wish I couldn't. She looked like a crazed woman, her eyes wide with rage. So how did she know I was here, and how did she prepare this beforehand? Why are you doing this, Serena? Why do you hate me so much? What have I ever done to you? She stood up and took a few steps away from me. You took everything away from me. You ruined my life. I couldn't understand what she was saying, but I didn't ask. I knew it would just upset her more. The only thing that was important to me now was how I would get out of here. You took our mother away from me. She only loved you. She spit out bitterly. Her entire life was centered around you and she acted like I didn't even exist. What about me? Wasn't I her daughter too? Why didn't she love me like she loved you? That's not true. She loved you, you were the one who was just too selfish to see it. She loved both of us equally but you wanted her just for yourself. Serena hated sharing. That was one of her vices. Shut up, I'm not done talking. Next, you did this to me. She pointed the dagger to her face. That was a mistake and I'll forever regret what happened that day. But that doesn't solve anything. I'll have this forever and I'll be ugly. It's all your fault. But you know the funny thing, I still managed to get your boyfriend. Jackson is all mine and when you're gone, he'll forget all about you and his stupid love for you. I frowned. Wasn't she ever satisfied? Did she want to ruin me before she finally realized that she had won? What exactly do you want from me, Serena? She returned to her former position. I want to kill you. She pressed the knife against my face again. I want to watch the life leave you as I kill you with my bare hands, that's what I want. And now, I'm going to have my wish. I doubted that would satisfy her. She had planned all this, I was sure, and now, she was about to be granted her heart's desire. As I closed my eyes, a tear rolled down my face and she pressed the cold metal against my throat. Fine, let's end it. Kaya. I was waiting for it, the sharp quick death Serena was going to give me. Or maybe she'll make it slow and make sure I suffer in pain as she watches my blood drain into the ground. Whatever my death may have been, it did not come in soon. I felt the absence of the knife against my throat. Slowly, I opened my eyes in case Serena was still there, but there was no one there. She wasn't there and neither were the other men who were standing with her. What the hell? What was going on? Did she have second thoughts? Knowing full well that Serena wouldn't pass up an opportunity to get rid of me, I looked around properly to see if this was just another trick to see if I would actually run away and then catch me in another trap. That was when I saw it, the green glowing eyes approaching me. If that wasn't a wild animal, then it would definitely be a. His growl was the next thing I heard and I froze. Those bastards, they had left me here to be food for whoever this was. I couldn't fight what was before me, even if Leah decided to stop being a coward and actually show her face. I doubted I could protect myself from this. He was huge, bigger than any wolf I had ever seen, including my father. His black fur shone under the moon's light as he circled me, taking very slow steps studying me. Please don't kill me. Please. I didn't know when the stuttered words left my mouth. I had never had to beg for my life before, but I was sure I was doing a very lousy job. I froze and even stopped breathing when he moved closer to me and sniffed me. I let him do his things, whatever it was. Maybe if he knew I was a werewolf just like him, he would let me go. I'm a wolf too. I'm the alpha's daughter. He moved back a little. Did that actually work or did he think I was lying? Still looking into his eyes and trying to figure out his next line of action, for the first time ever, I wished Serena was here. At least, I wouldn't be the only one about to be ripped to pieces by this stranger. He tore open the net I was in and the ropes fell at my side. I guess it has worked then, but I still didn't know who he was. He stared at me and for some reason, I stretched my hand out and aimed it towards his head. He bent his head down to reach my hand and I rubbed his head, extending my fingers to his large ears. When he took steps away from me, I thought he wanted to leave, but he stopped a couple of steps away from me and shifted back into a human. I could see everything. His perfectly shaped body, his outlined abs, every muscle and every vein, and then also him, down below. I turned my head away quickly, not wanting to make him uncomfortable with the way I was staring. That was the biggest I had ever seen, not that I had seen my fair share. He must have noticed my plight because he shrugged. I thought you said you were a wolf. No wolf minds being naked. You should be used to it by now. No. I couldn't get used to it because I don't have a wolf yet. That's why I was going to say, but I didn't, mainly because this was a stranger and I didn't want to put my heart out to him. I fought with my eyes to stop them from going down back there as I gathered my things to leave. This guy was probably just a rogue, walking around. He was no one important. Thank you for helping me chase those people away. I'll get going now. I stood up only to be met with the sharp pain shooting through my leg from my ankle. Ah! My knees bucked and I lost my balance, so I fell again. Well, I almost fell, but the guy caught me in his arms and I could almost feel my head spinning. You should be careful. Take a seat so I can look at it. As his fingers brushed his fingers away from me, I felt goosebumps decorate my skin all over and I quickly snatched my leg away from him. Or attempted to. His grip was to kill for. You should relax. I'll check on your leg. He raised my jean leg up and inspected my leg. Who really was this guy? Your leg is bruised badly. I think you dislocated the ankle. Why were those wolves after you anyway? What's going on? I opened my mouth, but a thought crossed through my mind. I was about to leak my secrets to a total stranger who was probably working with Serena. Right now, I didn't trust anyone. It's none of your business. I rolled down my pants leg and attempted to walk away, now conscious of my situation, but it didn't help matters as the pain was still there, causing me to fall back onto the floor. Before I attempt to move again, I felt a hand across my waist and under my legs. Let me help you. He picked me up and secured me tightly in his arms. If it were another situation, I wouldn't have minded it, but right now, I didn't even know who the man is. Red Moon, huh? My head snapped to him so quickly in shock. What? I can smell it on you. Let's get you home. The woods are too dangerous for a little girl like you. Home? No. I was running from home and this person, whoever the hell he was taking me back. No. No. Let me go. Hello? My cries fell on deaf ears. He just kept walking back in the direction I had run away from just hours later. No matter how much I kicked and trashed, he just wouldn't let me go. Let me go now. He laughed. He seemed to be enjoying this. I heard footsteps but didn't think much of it because he was here and whoever he was dangerous. He paused for a moment, took a deep breath and tightening his hold on me and cleared his throat. You don't need to be scared of going back. Don't worry, they're coming to get you. Isn't that fun? I could hear the smile in his words. How could he smile at a time like this? Oh no, I didn't like the feeling I was getting at the pit of my stomach. Something bad was going to happen and I could